match. Oh, he caught it! Oh, unbelievable! Back near the wall. It's out of here. Step back.
All right, welcome back to another edition, yet another edition. I said another edition of the Sportsman podcast. A little change up for you here today, but that's what we do. We keep people on their toes. Once you expect the left, we hit you with the right, and to the right, maybe to your left, maybe to the bottom, maybe to the top. Special guest Benjamin Schicker, the Jet.
Yeah.
The Jet here in the building.
Honorary sportsman.
Yeah, my Phillies are just killing me. The Eagles stink. The Sixers are garbage. I can't do anything right. This is crazy.
That's the Jet ticket, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, you have Joey Cold Cuts. Joey Cold Cuts. Joseph, how are we this evening?
We're good. We're good. Getting ready for a big weekend with the boys coming up, which is going to be tremendous. A little Vegas weekend, a little Sphere action, a little NASCAR action, which we're looking forward to. Going to be a gret time. Mikey, I always look forward to, because we don't see you often, like weekends where we can have our time together. It's always tremendous. Contrary to what some people think, that we're at our throats each other, we have a lot of fun whenever we're together, and I'm looking forward to it tremendously.
I just think that Joe and I's personality, it's just we go at each other all the time. But honestly, we probably accentuate that a little bit because people just love it. I mean, people just love when me and Joe go for each other's throats. So, give the people what they want at the expense of our own mental health.
We're like brothers.
Congratulations.
Like brothers.
Yes, absolutely. I am Mikey V, Bear Down Cuz, with you as always every week on the Sportsman, or try to be at least. Ticket is not here tonight. He sends his regards. He's busy doing a lot of other things with work and such. And you know what? We have him in spirit, but we have the best replacement you could possibly have in the Jet. So we're going to get right into it. We'll roll. We'll talk a little college football just to pop things off right out of the bat, right out of the gate. The big one, obviously, that I have, a lot of opinions on, but Ohio State traveled to Oregon on Saturday night to play the number 3 team in the country. Ohio State was at the time ranked 2. Since then, Oregon has flipped to 2, or Ohio State's gone down to 4. Buckeyes lose a 1-point game at the buzzer. What did you boys see in that game? And what do you think moving forward about how good these two teams actually are?
I want Yaman to start, because he told me he had Ohio State, and when it was 7-0, he goes, they might win by 50.
I thought they were gonna win big. I'll tell you this. Everybody knows I hate Ohio State, and I think that, right. With that being said, in my opinion, they're the better team. They're a top 3 team in the country. They played poorly. They didn't rush the quarterback for some reason. I honestly, that game ended exactly like tight game. They'll probably meet each other again or close to in the playoff. Like, it was a warm up, if you really want to think about it like that. And I was surprised that I think Ohio State is a better team. I was surprised they did not win. I think that everybody hailing Dan Lanning as some hero for that 12th man nonsense is bullshit. Like,
they changed the rule already, by the way.
Yeah, as they should. It's like, it's unethical what he did. I get it. I get it. I get what he did. And I at the time, I was so confused because it didn't even make sense to take that time off the clock. But then you realize you got an extra defender on the field. Like you said, I think you said on Twitter, you're fine. You'll be back.
I agree.
Again, and we'll see what happens in the playoff. I do think they're the better team, though. Ohio State still.
Joe, I have my opinions, obviously, but I want to hear from you first before I go into my diatribe.
I just don't think, like, with the new format that they have this year, that the loss means that much.
It doesn't. It certainly doesn't mean as much. It certainly doesn't.
No, I mean, if you would have looked at this game last year, if you would have put this game last year, I'd say, okay, that's a massive loss. Same as Alabama just lost 2 weeks ago, almost lost again this week. I don't think it's going to change much in the sequence of things in the big picture, because of the 12-team format. Ohio State's still going to be there. They're still going to be competitive. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I do think now, if anything, it does put a lot of pressure now on Oregon now, I think this is the first time since Marcus Mariota that they've been ranked number 2 this late into the season. But yeah, I wouldn't put too much solace on it. There's a lot of teams that are struggling. Ole Miss lost this week. I mean, Alabama almost lost. Georgia's already lost. They almost lost to Kentucky, several weeks ago. There's a lot of teams that are struggling.
Play Texas this week.
Texas this week might lose. So I don't think in the scheme of things, when you look at all the college teams, that there's one team that's so far and above better than everyone else. And I think that there's several teams, 5 or 6 teams that could win any week. So it's going to be competitive. But I thought Ohio State would end up pulling this out. I was shocked at the last play and how it ended, especially knowing that they had some time to talk about it before they went into that play. I was shocked at the way the game ended, but I don't think you need to make too much out of this in the long, in the long scheme of things. I think it'll be fine for Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, look, my biggest concern going into this game, and if people, I mean, I'm as big of an Ohio State fan as you could possibly be. My biggest concern was Will Howard coming into this game. And for people to put this game on Will Howard because he slid down early, you didn't watch the game, because Will Howard's the only reason that they were even in this game, because their defense could not stop Oregon towards the end of the game. This defensive coordinator Ohio State has, Jim Knowles, that they brought over from Oklahoma State a couple of years ago, was the defensive coordinator of the year. They brought him over, and in the biggest of games, Michigan in 2021, 2022, 2023, Georgia in the semifinal in 2022, and now this Oregon game. That's 6 games. Every single one of those games, his defense has failed to force the other team to punt once in the fourth quarter. That's a real stat.
Oh my God.
He has done a terrible, terrible job making late game adjustments. Jet hit the absolute nail on the head. When they pressured Gabriel looked like a mediocre at best quarterback. He looked shook. He couldn't do anything. But when they let him just sit there in the pocket, he picked them apart. He dissected them. Credit to him. He was hitting deep balls. He was burning Denzel Burke, who's Ohio State's #1 cover corner. They did not blitz this guy. They refused to blitz this guy. They refused to send pressure, and it bit him in the ass. Offensively,
he's not a big guy, by the way.
No, he's not. He's 6 foot tall on a good day. He's probably 5'11", 210 pounds maybe. And Ohio State, to me, I look at this team, and if they could figure out what the hell their shortcomings are in these big games, to me, they're the most talented team in the country. I still think they're the most talented team in the country. I tweeted out, I still think they're going to win the national championship. Now, they may not, because these coaches sometimes outcoach themselves. This loss is squarely on 2 people in my mind. It's on Ryan Day. It's on Jim Knowles. It's not on anybody else. It's not on the players. It's not on Will Howard, certainly, for sliding too early. It's on the head coach. It's on Jim Knowles. Bottom line is, Joe said the playoff field is expanded to 12. The game would have meant a lot more losing it last year. It doesn't mean nearly as much. They'll meet again, like Jet said, down the road, whether it's in the Big Ten championship game or in the 12-team playoff. And I think Ohio State on a neutral field beats this team 8 out of 10 times. I truly believe that. And I'm not trying to discredit Oregon.
No, you're right.
Ryan Day's really starting to lose the big game, though, regularly, and that's a problem.
Yes, I know. I said it. It's a problem.
I know. It's because if you start to create a culture where you're used to winning those tight, big games, the team expects to win. If you start losing them, the team's going to start questioning in those big moments, like if they're going to be able to come through. And that's the difference between a national champion and a team that's just very good.
Listen, on the road, semifinal against Georgia 2022, Ohio State has the ball last with a chance to win the game. They go down and they bog down, and they're forced to take a very long field goal kick, which he totally shanks it. But either way, they had the ball with the opportunity to seize the game and win it. They don't. 2023, last season at Michigan, a lot of people forget, Kyle McCord had the ball last possession, chance to beat Michigan, moves the ball, bogs down, throws an interception at midfield. This year, Oregon, last possession, goes right down the field, has the chance again, and they bog down. They call a pass play, offensive pass interference on Jerry Smith. It's now 3 huge games in a row where they've had the ball with the chance to win. Ryan Day's supposed to be an offensive guru, supposed to be this quarterback whisperer, and they've lost all 3 of those games. If he loses to Michigan this year somehow, by some way, to this Michigan team,
he's no way.
He's out. He's out. Yeah. And by the way, they play Penn State in a couple weeks, and I know people are going to say what they want to say about Penn State. Drew Aller, if they give Drew Aller the time they gave Dylan Gabriel in the pocket, they're going to lose to Penn State in Happy Valley in a whiteout. They will, if they allow that.
They ain't losing to Penn State.
I
You
hope
want to talk
not.
so a couple things. One, or Oregon. No.
Go
Oregon
ahead.
was
Jet had USC as well.
because Oregon. No, but listen, Oregon underachieved all year. Nobody knew what they were. They haven't necessarily played anybody so good.
That's correct.
And they were beating teams. They weren't.
They
like,
barely beat Boise
I'm
State.
saying they were
early
winning
on.
like set. They were scoring like they would blow out teams, but only as the games went on. Like they weren't beating anybody handily right away. Penn State, on the other hand, I do think Ohio State is going to run the table. They have Penn State and Michigan left, right?
They have Nebraska next week at home. Nebraska's got one loss.
So I know, but I'm saying the big teams they have left.
Big teams they have left are Penn State at Penn State at night, which is, I mean, if you've ever been there, that's a nightmare scenario.
That's
the whiteout.
But let me listen. Penn State, there are not. You want to talk about Ryan Day coaching mishaps?
Yeah, I know.
Penn
Franklin's
State has
bad.
the worst
I know.
big game coach
I
in the
know.
country.
You're right. You're right.
One and two. You cannot. They're the fourth ranked team. I can name you 8 teams right now that are better than them.
Okay.
They're not. I just don't think. And again, we'll see what happens with Ohio State. Penn State's only lost to Ohio State and who's the other team? They've only lost to 2 teams in like the last 4 years. So Ohio State and Michigan. They're the only good. So and Ohio State handles them every year, pretty much.
They do.
So I don't think. I mean, listen, it's obviously going to be a big game, but I'm buying into Ohio State way more than Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, again, I look at that Ohio State team Saturday night, and I look at the opportunities they had to kind of not put Oregon away, but they score the first touchdown, they force Oregon to punt, and then a crazy Quinshon Judkins gets the ball ripped out of his hands as he's falling to the ground.
That was wild.
And then obviously the last drive. It's just the team. I'm not trying to sound like a homer, so it's hard for me to objectively say this, but the eye test for me, I just think Ohio State's a much better football team. I just do. I know they lost. All credit in the world to the Ducks. They outsmarted them. The coach at the end, Jet doesn't want to give him credit. You took advantage of the system.
It was a smart.
It was a smart play, and all the credit in the world to Oregon. I'm not taking anything away, but if you ask me, watching that game, who the better team was, just watching it, I think Ohio State is. But anyway, let's move on. We don't want to get hung up on that. We mentioned Ole Miss, LSU. Ole Miss goes down again. This is their second loss now of the season. LSU beats them in the Bayou in overtime. Ole Miss comes back there. They do force overtime. Got very interesting. But then at the end, LSU pulls it out at home. What did you think about that one, boys?
LSU to me is impressive right now. I know you disagree, Jet. They lost week 1 against USC. I thought, okay, this team's got nothing. They're dead, but they're playing well lately. They remind me too of like Clemson. Like they're getting better every single week. And this was a massive win. Like they were behind majority of the game. For them to come back, force OT, go ahead and win an OT. I mean, this is the type of game that can get them right back where they need to be. And as we mentioned earlier, 12-team format playoffs this year, they are going to be a team that's probably going to be in the top 12. I would say when all things are said and done, if they keep winning, I was impressed. Jet, you look like you completely disagree.
No, I just because I think, well, no, I think Ole Miss gave that game away. I think Ole Miss is overrated. They were winning the whole game. They forgot how to play offense in the second half, and they just couldn't do it. Yeah, LSU beat them. I as you know, an honorary Ole Miss alum, I was rooting for Ole Miss, but they didn't. They didn't. And honestly, Ole Miss they're a big hype team, right? They got Lane Kiffin. They got this high-powered offense. They're not. They have 2 losses. They lose again, they're not going to make the playoff.
Yeah.
And LSU's right there. And the other thing, again, like you said, that home field advantage. LSU. You talk about Penn State whiteout at night. It's very similar. I mean, LSU at night. That was. Yeah. I just honestly, the more we talk, I just love. It's the best. It's the best. College football.
Yeah, college football's.
Yeah.
It's the best. So
Death Valley, man.
Night, it just looks sick. And listen, they beat him. I'm more convinced that Ole Miss is overrated than I am that.
I think Lane Kiffin is overrated, if we're being honest.
Well, they need to play defense. They do this to every team. They go up big. Their offense is flying. They're running all these quick plays. They're getting the end zone, and then they just bog down.
Yeah, I mean, look, Brian Kelly. I'm not a Brian Kelly guy.
I know.
I'm not.
We trashed him early on.
Nobody is, Mike.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to his ways of coaching. I just think that when push comes to shove, his team will blow it and he'll look to blow up on something or somebody to get the attention away from him when that happens. But again, the SEC is kind of like Texas obviously is the favorite now, the heavy
Could lose
favorite, I
this
would say.
week.
But again, you don't know what's going to happen against Georgia, but the SEC is kind of wide open right now. It's just
It
kind of
is.
wide. It feels like it's very wide open. I think at the beginning of the year, you saw Ole Miss steamrolling everybody by like 40, 50 points every week. LSU struggled in the beginning. Tennessee was steamrolling teams. Now they've come back down to reality.
They
Tennessee,
look
Bama. By
terrible.
the way, Tennessee, Alabama this week, another great football game. We'll see who wins that game. But yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it, again, just Ole Miss the last couple weeks just have not had that killer finishing instinct, even against South Carolina. Ole Miss did not they didn't overly impress me against South Carolina, against the South Carolina team with this freshman banged up quarterback who could barely move the ball. I was a little disappointed to see that. I thought Jackson Dart and this Ole Miss team was for real. I really did. Preseason, I was heavy invested into them, and now it's kind of like I might backtrack a little bit, but on to bigger and better things, on to the NFL. A lot of action going on in the NFL this week. Crazy action on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Wednesday saw all these, Tuesday saw Devontae Adams traded to the Jets,
Crazy.
Amari Cooper to the Bills. Let's talk about that. Does Devontae to the Jets change anything in your guys' mind? Does it make the Jets better than what you saw Monday night?
Not if they don't protect
Bills?
Aaron. Not if they don't protect Aaron Rodgers. And and he's taken some hits the last couple weeks, and he's looking frail. Now, I think he played a good game this last week, but
I think so too.
They got to protect him. And like, if they give him another weapon, I know he's unbelievable with Devontae Adams, but he had good stats this last week, and they still lost. I think the offensive line, and how
Garrett
about the
Wilson.
kicking? How about the kicking situation they got going on there? They've lost
Greg
two
Zuerlein's
games.
Greg Zuerlein.
Greg Zuerlein is not the Greg Zuerlein from 5-6 years ago. He is not. He lost them the game against the Broncos, and he lost them the game, if we're being honest. And I don't care about people saying, oh, there's a lot of wind. There's wind in any, like, you got to learn how to kick in the wind. It's a 37-yard field goal. It's not like it's a 50. So they got issues on other sides of the ball. I don't know if it fixes everything. They're definitely doing everything they can to make sure Aaron is set up to win on his end and feels good between, getting rid of Salah, bringing in Devontae Adams. He still has a great rapport with Lazard, but 2-4, it's tough, man. To come back from that, I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Jet?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bigger. Amari Cooper to the Bills is probably bigger for them than for the Jets to get Devontae Adams. They're saying, I mean, I don't know. The Bills don't have a number one receiver until.
No, they don't. No.
And the Jets have, again, like you said, Cutsy, the protection is the problem out in, for the Jets. They've been surprising the Jets. So I would say the Bills are the big winner of that one. And I think it's going to be interesting to see because they've been winning. I mean, they had those two bad games. They got killed by the Ravens, and then they lost to Houston. But I don't know. They're the type of team as the year goes on, they get better. I could see them being there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Bills' offense is kind of like Allen just distributes the ball to everybody. The way he plays, you don't know who's going to get the ball in that offense. But certainly they're missing that alpha guy with Steph Diggs gone and now in Houston. Amari coming over, I would agree. I do think that Amari to the Bills is a bigger deal for the offense as a whole because, like Joe said, I mean, it's not like the Jets are like cash poor with weapons on offense. This Braylon Allen, the backup for Breece Hall, is a legitimate running back. Breece Hall, regarded as one of the best running backs in the league. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Alan Lazard, that's not terrible. Conklin's a very capable tight end. Now you add Devontae Adams to that mix. Of course, it's only going to make them that much better. There's talk about them possibly looking to ship Mike Williams out now.
He's been terrible.
To me, with the Jets, it's going to be is the rapport that Aaron and Devontae had all those years in Green Bay when they basically didn't even need to look at each other and they knew exactly what the other one was going to do. Because that's how it got in Green Bay, especially around in the red area, especially. Devontae he'd come off the line and make a move, break off a route, and it was like Rodgers
back shoulder pass.
Right. He just knew automatically where he was going to go. If they could get back to that, that's going to be very good for them, obviously. But Jets defense has still got to play well. The kicker is
get the running game needs to get going. They finally got Breece Hall. They finally got him. They got him going. He had one big run for like 50-something yards.
Yep.
They got him going, but that was another thing too, where there was like 2 or 3 games there, Mikey, for a while where they couldn't run the ball. and then you become one-dimensional, and then you have offensive line, like trying to keep Aaron safe. That's a recipe for disaster. So I don't
Yep.
know.
Yep. And then, it's again, I agree with Jet that I think Cooper to the Bills is more meaningful for the team as a whole, but for that comfortability for Rodgers, I just think that is going to be something to watch. And I'm still, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I'm so traumatized, and Jet, you should be too. I mean, a lot of people may not know Jet is a Bears fan. I don't know how public that
Yeah.
information is. That information is very, it's like Roswell. You know about it, but you don't know a lot about it. You don't know what's going on behind the Roswell gates in New Mexico. So Jet, I don't know if maybe it's just my traumatization from when Rodgers played in Green Bay. I still wouldn't count him out. I just wouldn't count him out yet. I wouldn't declare the Jets dead just yet. I would not.
You can never count him out. That's correct. But he looks, and I hate to say it, he looks like withered. Like he looks old. He looks shaky. Every play is going down. He looks aggravated all the time. Like when he used to come into Chicago, he came in hot. Like there was,
always.
there was the
always.
game where he got hurt. They went up 20, and then he showed up and beat him.
Yeah, that was wild,
week one.
dog, yeah.
But he just seems, and again, like I don't know, maybe they rattle off a couple wins in a row. He'll be back. Everybody will be happy. He'll stop throwing his teammates under the bus. But it's
yeah,
we'll see. I don't know. He also strikes me as the type of guy, especially now in his career. Like if they go 2-5, he's just going to be like, all right, fuck it. Like I don't, like what? It's everything or bust for him, as it should be.
Yep. And I mean that's what the Jets brought him in for. It is everything or bust now for the Jets. Briefly want to touch on, and then we'll go right to NFL previews, game of the week, who's the problem, all that. Briefly, I want to just touch because we are in the midst of an ALCS, NLCS. So, I mean, we have to at least acknowledge it. Yankees up as of now. We're recording Wednesday night, release episode Thursday. So, the only thing we can't tell you is what's going to happen in game 3 of the NLCS. But NLCS tied 1-1. Dodgers crushed the Mets in the first game 9-0. Mets really respond incredibly well in game 2. I was a little concerned for the Mets. I thought maybe could this be the end of the magic carpet ride for the Mets in game 2? Mets win game 2, and the Yankees are just pretty much steamrolling through an American League that without the Orioles and without the Astros, just maybe mentally for the Yankees, that was the best case scenario, was not having to play Baltimore and Houston because they never beat Houston in the playoffs. And this season, they couldn't beat Baltimore during the regular season. So I think things shook out ideally for the Yankees. But where do you guys see both those series ending up? Who's going to play in the World Series?
I'll tell you what, a Dodgers-Yankees World Series might be the thing that brings baseball back, because that, you want to talk juggernauts, like that's it, right? I hope they play. I don't think the Mets. I think that Cinderella ride is going to come to an end. With that being said, the Dodgers have tended over the last few years to lay a couple eggs when they shouldn't. But if the Dodgers play the Yankees, all bets are off. Anything could happen in that series, and that'll be exciting.
The Yankees just seem to have control of the game throughout, and the pitching is getting better. This Weaver kid looks amazing. So they're showing signs of like a legit closer who can just end the game. The bats are waking up. Judge just got a home run last game. He's back on the Schneid.
Off the Schneid, yeah.
Off the Schneid. The Yankees just seem to have everything going for them. So I feel like they're going to cruise into the World Series. This Mets-Dodgers series, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I would probably say
the Mets. He loves.
I don't love the Mets.
I mean, they have that team of destiny feel to them, though. They do.
They have a feeling like a Red Sox team when they came back and went. Like there's sometimes like in certain sports, like the New York Giants, you just get a feeling. Okay, this team just they're hot at the right time. I do think the Dodgers will do it, but I think it's going to go almost the distance.
I agree. I think it goes 6-7. Yep.
Which is going to benefit the Yankees if they can continue to compile wins and be done with the Guardians early. I think it's going to really help them. I think the NLCS is going to be a gauntlet, is what I feel, because the Mets they have this no quit mentality, and it's almost like they believe that they're meant to be there, and that's a tough place to be to take a team out of that rhythm.
Yeah, here's the issue with the Guardians on the ALCS side, in my opinion. Outside of Juan,
Ramirez.
their leadoff hitter, and Ramirez, who scares you in that lineup? That lineup is very, very pedestrian outside of those two guys, in my opinion. Whereas the Yankees, Gleyber Torres has looked like the Gleyber Torres that when he first came up and hit 30 something home runs in a
How about
season
Stanton?
that people were. Stanton is a historic. He's a historic postseason hitter. He's in that category now.
He's
Just look at
playing
the
awesome.
numbers. The numbers don't lie. He's a historic postseason hitter. Aaron Judge has started before he hit the home run, the games prior, he was starting to hit the ball on the screws a little bit, but he was hitting it at people. Now, last night, that ball he drove out was to dead center, and it carried.
It was a high pitch. The fact that he had the confidence to swing at that.
Juan Soto, still locked in at the plate. Verdugo, they're getting something out of. The only guy they're really getting nothing out of is Jazz Chisholm and Wells. And Wells apparently is getting pulled from the cleanup spot, and Stanton's getting moved in, and they're going to put Trevino to play catcher. That's what I heard for game 3. So something to keep an eye on there. But they're taking away the biggest strength of the Guardians because they're jumping on them early. The biggest strength for the Guardians is their bullpen. There are 4 guys out of the pen, the 4 horsemen, whatever you want to call them. They have not been able to leverage that strength against the Yankees. And all the credit in the world to the Yankees bullpen, who's virtually between, Clay Holmes, Weaver, and Canely and Tim Hill have looked unhittable. I mean, they've looked unhittable. It's outrageous what they've done. Flip side, NLCS, again, Joe, I agree with you. I think that series is going to go the distance. I think it goes 6 games, maybe 7. And it would behoove the Yankees if they could finish off the Guardians, the quicker the better, and get some of those pen guys and get Cole and get Rodon as much rest as possible and keep that series as short as possible. But in the end, I want to pick a Subway Series. I want to, but I have to lean kind of with Jet and just say that when I look at that Dodgers team, man, there's just that lineup is just, it's a who's who.
When Muncy's hitting and Freeman's hitting, and then you got Betts and you got Ohtani.
And Betts and Ohtani aren't even hitting. Betts and Ohtani aren't even hitting yet. That's the scary part. That's what I mean. Like for the Guardians, if Ramirez is not hitting, nobody's picking.
And he's not having a good postseason.
Right. Nobody's picking them up with the Dodgers. If Ohtani doesn't hit, there's a million other guys. So again, I want to see a Subway Series. That's what I want. I want Yankees Mets because the city will be on my neck of the woods will be on fire. It's on fire already because they're both in the championship series. It's on fire. But if they play, it's going to be incredible. So I'm rooting for that. I am. We can now move into the NFL fully. We'll go into our week review. We'll review a couple games. Joe, let's just do our teams. So it'll be nice and easy. All we got to do is Bears and Packers. Packers took care of business, wiped the floor with the Cardinals. It was my game of the week. Arizona is a dome desert team coming into Lambeau in the cold and the rain.
They're overrated.
I don't think they have a shot. There you go. Joe, what did you see there specifically from Jordan Love? I thought he looked a lot better than he did the week before. And the defense. I like what I saw the Green Bay defense.
How many takeaways is this defense getting, man? It's unbelievable. But yeah, to your point, Mikey, I think Jordan Love is getting back to full health. He was running out of the pocket a few times. He made some plays with his feet. And I mean, he's making plays. And it doesn't matter if it's Dobbs or if it's Watson or if it's Reed. I said this last week, they can burn you on so many different levels. When all those receivers are healthy, you don't know who to cover. Because Wicks can score. Reed looks great. Watson was back. He scored a touchdown. And Dobbs now 2 touchdowns last week. Josh Jacobs still looks good. The team looks really solid right now. They're starting to come into their own. I feel the way they're playing the last couple of weeks, I feel right now that they're a top 6-7 team in the league. If I'm being biased.
I agree with that. I mean, I put out my Twitter top 5. I do the top 5 NFL teams every week. I have them right outside the top 5, like the next 3 out in no order.
And if you consider too, Mikey, they won 2 games without their starting quarterback. I think even more so. They're starting to catch their stride.
NFC North is a gauntlet.
Man, it's crazy. Like that division, the fact that someone might miss the playoffs and, in that division, and you put them in any other division and any of the teams, the bottom 2 teams are 4-2. They'd be contending for top spot in any other division. It's crazy.
We talked a little bit about the Jets, which is always a good thing to cover too, because I feel a lot of people want to talk Jets. Before we get to the Bears, Cowboys and the Lions. Now the Lions lose Aiden Hutchinson for the season.
Oh, what a
Horrific injury.
horrible.
Horrific.
Oh,
Really feel for him because he was having a defensive player of the year kind of season. But my God, tell me what is wrong with the Dallas Cowboys.
I said this on the Bob the Sports podcast. Nobody lays an egg and underachieves in a big game and gets blown out quite like the Dallas Cowboys. It is, and it's always at home because they play 17 home games a year. They've never played.
It does always seem like
they only play them, and the Falcons only play home games. Okay, now and they get blown out at home anytime a good team shows up. They get blown out. Their offense is not even moving the ball. They're punting. It's
their
Cowboys,
defense is bad.
At least don't they have the highest paid player in the NFL? Isn't Dak Prescott now the highest paid player in the NFL? Something like that. If it's not Jordan Love, their offense cannot move the ball. They can't do anything. They can't play offense. They
have no run game.
It's a disaster, and they should be. If you really look at it, they should be contenders every single year. And they remind me a little of the Bears of old. They just underachieve like you wouldn't believe. It's crazy.
Yeah, the thing to me that sticks out is like, what happened to the defense, man? I understand Dan Quinn's no longer there. He's in Washington, yeah. Joe, I know you covered your game of the week, and I felt very strongly about that too. I got to give a little bit of the tip of the cap to Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. They kept it closer than I thought they would. Very tough game played on the road against the Ravens. That's another conversation. But back to the Cowboys. How did the defense just plummet off of the face of a cliff like this, where they cannot get stops if their lives depend?
Micah Parsons, nowhere.
The Lions. I mean, Dan Campbell was out to embarrass them, running Statue of Liberty plays with linemen, and I mean, just running Penei Sewell out on
he's having fun.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. And I mean, that was a personal game for after last year. What happened to the Lions there? No doubt that was personal for Campbell, but. My God, the fall from grace for that defense. Forget about the offense; they can't run. They can't run the ball at all. Dallas always known to have one of the best run games in the league. They can't run. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, it's like it just seems like I don't know. There's just nothing there. It's like an empty suit. The Dallas Cowboys are like like a paper bowl. There's nothing to them. They just crumble. So I don't know, man. That's just an ugly, ugly scene in Dallas. And I don't know. I don't know if they're going to turn it around. I mean, they're lucky their division's not the strongest division, but that being said, I mean, the Eagles, what'd you think of Nick Sirianni, Joe, and his actions after they didn't cover against the Cleveland Browns at home? They pull out the win. They do pull out the win, but they don't cover.
Mikey, I put it in multiple parlays, the Eagles money line. It was minus 420, and I was sweating that thing out and live betting, hedging against the Eagles because I thought they were going to blow it all. Sirianni, I mean, we have defended it. I feel like I've defended him because Ticket goes on a rant.
Yeah, Tick hates him. I get it.
Sometimes too early. His love for the Eagles is so tainted that there's times where he's overly negative way too early in the season. But I watched this game from start to finish. There's issues in Philadelphia without question. They are not. I don't know what's going on. Jalen Hurts looks like he's playing in a fog, and then he'll make a great play, and you'll be like, okay, there's Jaden Daniels. I'm trying to compare him to a guy who looks like he's down.
Right.
There's Jalen Hurts, but then all of a sudden he'll just be like, they're fumbling the snap, or they can't get anything going, or he's getting sacked. It's like, I don't know what's going on with that team, but they look in disarray. That's a team that I'm worried about, and I see where Ticket's coming from, and I'm all in on it now, man. They got some real issues.
For Sirianni to do what he did after the game, to go, clap back at the fans. Okay, but then for him in the press conference to basically, now he did apologize like 2 days ago. Somebody must have told him, listen, these fans, if they don't already, are going to hate your guts. Like if they don't already, the ones that don't are going to hate your guts. But for him to defend what he did, and he's like, well, when they boo us, we really don't like it. We like when they cheer. Well, no fucking shit, pal. Like, no shit, but I mean, welcome to Phil. I mean, that's the last place you should be a head coach if you can't deal with fans booing. Somebody said on ESPN they fucking booed Santa Claus, for Christ's sake. You don't think they're going to boo you? Like, these Philly fans are going to boo. That's the best thing about the Philly fans. You'll always know exactly where you stand.
Yeah.
They're not fake. If you're bad, they're going to let you know. If you're great, they're going to let you know. But for him to defend it initially, the apology looks even worse now. The apology to me looks so bad compared to
I didn't see the apology.
yeah,
I
he
just saw him
did.
chirping
He
on the
did.
side.
He apologized.
No,
it was
you know
either
what
But it was
yesterday
not
or
even like they blew them out. They barely beat them.
Jet,
You know
your
what the
opinion.
worst part is that well, listen, anybody who brings their kids up to a press conference after not, like when you didn't win the only time you can bring your kids up there is if you just won it all. Especially he brought them up to soften the blow of what was new. Like, how are you going to ask a guy tough questions with his kid? Yo, leave your kids at home. One and two, just answer the questions. Like, just say I'm a clown. Like, if he was just up there and like, yeah, I'm competitive, I'm an idiot, I'm a clown. He also could have just been like, I was yelling at Browns fans. Like, he could have done. This guy just continues to put his foot in his mouth, and like, it's old at this point. It's fun. It's funny to watch, but it's like I get Ticket too now because I used to be like, Ticket, your team's amazing. Like, they were in the Super Bowl, and he's like, this team fucking stinks. Like, our coach. I get it, and now I get it. I get it. Pop was right.
Let's go to preview this week. We are already in week 7. Somehow we're there. We'll go to a couple specific games. Obviously, we'll take our teams and we'll take our teams first. Joe, big one this week against the Houston Texans team that is resurgent, a little bit of a resurgence from the Texans. They're going to be without a corner. They're going to be without Jimmy Ward, the safety. So a little banged up on the back end. Could be prime pickings there for Jordan Love if they could protect him, because Houston's got a pretty decent pass rush. Houston O-line, a little questionable. Packers at home giving 3 to the Texans. What do you like there?
I like the Packers. I'm going to be honest. I thought the Texans took care of business, but if you watch that game, the Patriots kind of hung around for it seemed like a certain period of the game, like even towards the end, they were down like 2 scores, but it
Drake
never
May
seemed
debut, not terrible at all.
not at all. Listen, I think there were multiple series where the Texans could have blown this game out early. They had 2 drives where they were in the red zone. They missed a field goal. Fairbairn missed a field goal, which I'm not used to seeing because I'd say he's one of the best field goal kickers in the league.
Yep.
And then they threw an interception, which was kind of fluky, but still turned the ball over in the red zone. They could have killed the Patriots early. They kind of let them hang around, but they ended up winning, I think, by 3 scores. That being said, I think the Packers are the better team overall. And I think that Stroud is still at a position where if you put him in a tough environment and things don't go his way necessarily early on, you can get to him. You can shake him. I could be completely wrong, but I think Green Bay right now is playing with a lot of confidence. I think the fans and playing at home make this a huge advantage. I think if you put Green Bay in Houston, I think it's a totally different game, but I think playing at home in Lambeau, I think it's going to be tough, and I think the Packers get the win. Whether they cover the 3, I don't know, but they'll win this game. I would take the Packers to cover as well.
Jet?
I agree with everything Cuzzy said.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, that'll be a trifecta. I'm in on Green Bay, and more so for any reason. It just seems like Lambeau's just going to be a bitch to play in this year. Playing at Lambeau, especially as a dome team. And again, like I said, they're going to be without their top cover corner. They're going to be without their top safety, Jimmy Ward. That's a tough spot. Now, maybe if they get the run game going with Mixon, I think that's going to be critical for them.
Yeah.
Before anything with CJ Stroud, before anything happens with CJ Stroud, the Texans should try and establish a run with Joe Mixon. If they could get that going, maybe it'll be different, but I got to pick it today, and I'm going to pick the Packers and go with Jet and Joe and take it at -3 Green Bay. Another huge game Sunday, maybe the biggest game on the board. Undefeated, coming off a bye, Minnesota Vikings at home against the Detroit Lions. Basically a pick 'em. The Lions are getting 1.5 points. I mean, and obviously Minnesota laying the 1.5. Aaron Jones probably not going to play. I think he's actually heading to the IR. They bring in Cam Akers again, who they traded for last season. Now they trade for him again. So Sam Darnold and the Vikings against the Aiden Hutchinson-less Lions. Who do you guys got?
I mean, It's exactly so. It's a toss up. I could not give you a pick on that game. I will. If I had to lean one way, I'd see Detroit
Me
because,
too.
like
Me
you
too.
said, when it all comes down to, if you look at the coaching now, granted, if they go for it on 4th and 3 from their own 20, like they tend to do, it might not work out. But I'll take the Lions. I think it'll be a great game. I'll take the Lions. I probably will be rooting for Minnesota though I don't. Doesn't matter for the Bears too much.
Joseph?
I would agree with you guys. I actually think that Detroit's going to win this game. I think that the Vikings are a great team. Don't get me wrong,
Two
but
weeks
I
to
think
prepare. Does that
Yeah,
not
they
mean
had a
much
bye
to you,
week.
Joe?
uh I don't know. I think it just I don't know, man. The thing with Dan Campbell is he throws so many random shit at you that it's like, I mean, like 2 weeks ago, he had Jared Goff catching a touchdown pass. They're doing Statue
Yeah.
of Liberty plays.
Yep.
They do a lot of random shit, and there's a lot of ways that they can beat you. Like they can run the ball down your throats with Montgomery and Gibbs. And I think that that's what they're going to have to do because if they rely on Goff to drop back,
Oh, he's gonna get
Minnesota is
killed.
going to bring so much
Yes.
pressure, it's going to get ugly. So I think if they're smart, they're going to lean early on the run and then from there, hopefully open it up and let Goff make some passes. But you know what? I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to take the Vikings. I'm going to take the Vikings. I think they're getting what is it? Is it a pick 'em?
They're
Is it?
giving one. They're giving 1.5. Minnesota minus 1.5.
I think that stadium's going to be rocking. It's going to be close, man. I think whatever you take, this game's going to go down to the wire. I think Aiden Hutchinson being out is a huge loss because I could see Darnold getting pressured by him. I could see him causing a ton of chaos. Give me the Vikings with the 1.5. I'll swap.
This is probably a game I would not bet straight up against the line just because of how close it is and because you haven't seen the Lions without Aiden Hutchinson yet. I don't know what that defense, who's not the greatest defense in the world to begin with, let's not mince words, is going to look like without the defensive player of the year leading candidate, in my opinion, who was Hutchinson. So for that reason, I would take the Vikings just because of two things. 2 weeks to prepare at home. Okay. And then an Aiden Hutchinson less Lions team. And Joe is correct. Brian Flores' defense is going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Jared Goff if they're just going to let Jared Goff try and just drop back and take, 5-step drops and just try and get rid of the ball. That could be a long day for Detroit. I'm going to take Minnesota, but again, a game I wouldn't advise going against on the line, but I'll take Minnesota as well. Jets on the Lions. The Bears have a bye this week, Jet. We got a nice 3-game win streak into the bye.
Wow,
We're
good for
relaxing.
you.
Kick the feet up, rest up, get the guys healthy.
Vegas is going to be fun for you, Mike. You have nothing to sweat.
I'm not buying the Bears look good. They're gonna have to beat a good team at some point soon.
Yep.
So
you can only play who's
they're
in
gonna
front of you,
play,
Jet.
of course, but you can't, but you got to take that into account when you're anointing teams. Like they're not,
Oh, I'm
they
not
haven't
ignoring
been not you, I'm saying in general. I know I think they're playing Washington. We'll see
Oh,
what's
man.
up with
Game
that
got
game.
flexed into the national TV 4:30 spot,
And
that game.
and then they're gonna play Green Bay a couple weeks after that. So those
Wow.
are the games I got my eyes on. When they play the Patriots or they play even Arizona, it's like we can only play your schedule, but I am that guy that's not buying it until we beat some good teams.
I would agree only if the Bears like historically didn't lose games that you're supposed to win. Like the Bears are the kings of losing games.
Right.
I said this, and me and Big Cat actually talked about this. That game in London against the Jaguars was the ultimate Bears have looked good 2 weeks in a row. Caleb's looked good 2 weeks in a row. This is the classic, like if the Bears are still the same as they've always been, they'll lose that game to Jacksonville in London. That would have been classic Bears. First quarter, obviously, first couple drives, and then all of a sudden, boom, Caleb gets in a rhythm, and then it's all over. So obviously, everything you're seeing from Caleb Williams, he's improving every single week. He looks awesome, albeit against not the greatest of competition the last couple of weeks. But the Bears, something interesting to keep in mind too. 5-1 against the spread this year. 5-1 against the spread this year.
Wow.
Only game they did not cover was the Colts game. They covered as a road dog against the Texans, and as the favorites in the other game, they outright covered. So that's very, very promising thing, I think, for if you're a Chicago fan to see, and especially with Caleb's development. Let's go to Chiefs at the San Francisco 49ers. Tell me why, boys. Tell me why. Tell me why the San Francisco 49ers are a 1.5 point favorite against the undefeated Chiefs.
It's my game of the week.
Go ahead.
And I'm taking the Niners. I'm taking the Niners. Here's why. And I will tell you why, because Vegas is smart. And Vegas knows. And Mikey, I said this last week, and I'm starting to kind of piece together some puzzles of like, this is how I'm going to start just going about my ways. And I had the first good week that I've had in ages. The Chiefs are somewhat fraudulent in the sense that they could easily be 3-2 right now. Jet, you're shaking your head. They were one big toe away, which Jet you lost on. We saw that together. And they were a horrific pass interference call, which I benefited on that week. And I can say that should never have been they should be 3-2 going into this game. They're 5-0, receiverless, as far as I'm concerned, in the sense that they're missing some of their key pieces. The Niners have been just wishy-washy, they have really not. I know they beat the Seahawks last week. The Seahawks could have beat themselves, if we're being honest. They look terrible. The Niners are coming off. Everybody is going to take the Chiefs. The Niners are at home. I think that they're going to get the job done. I think they're going to win by 3-4 points. I'm taking the Niners as my game of the week. You could call me crazy.
I don't think you're crazy, because from a handicapping standpoint, you look at that line and you say to yourself, everyone and their mother is going to take Kansas City, because Kansas City never gets points. Kansas City never gets points. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, the play would say, well, Vegas, this is something that Vegas knows. Got to take the Niners here. But Jet looks like he disagrees with
I don't disagree. I don't think it's fair. Like, that's what the Chiefs do. The Chiefs every year should be 11-7 or 11-6, whatever. And they always end up with they always win. They win those games. With that being said, going to San Francisco is not easy for anybody. Now, the Chiefs are they're not an East Coast team. They're I guess you would call them a Midwest team.
Yeah.
But so that's always difficult to go there. They're due to put up it happens every year. They'll put up one dud. Aren't they coming off a bye week though? They played on Monday night 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, they're off a bye. Yep.
So that's an issue for San Francisco. But yeah, like
San Francisco played last Thursday.
When you see that line -1.5 for the Niners, it's so obvious that you would want the Chiefs that you then have to go take the Niners.
right.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
So Jet, you're taking Niners, Jet?
I have to make a pick.
Of course. That's the problematic part about the show. They want you to pick 3 days before. It's very difficult.
Give me the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. I was talking to Cutsy about this in the airport a couple weeks ago. When you see a funky line like that, you almost always have to take the funky side, which here would be the Niners. But I don't know. I see
there is times where there's the classic case of overthinking it. I did that this last week with the Jags. The Jags were up 3-0, and I think the Bears live was like +185. I said, this is a home run play. And then I said to myself, no, everybody has got to be on the Bears are going to fall apart because the Bears took the lead. And then I was like, I'm taking the Jags. And my God, I just overthought it. Sometimes you just get in your own head. But I do think in this case, I think the Niners are going to beat the Chiefs. I really believe it.
Chargers, Steelers, I think 3 weeks ago. And the Steelers were 3-point favorites. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And they won by 10. I was like, all right, took the Chargers, but now we know.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to go with Jet and take the Chiefs. The Niners to me are not the same this year. They're just not. I agree. They're just not the same. And not to say that the Chiefs are, but the Chiefs just win. They just win. So it's not even like the Chiefs got to cover. They just got to win the game.
George Kittle's starting to look good.
He looks good.
You know how stupid you're going to feel when the Chiefs are down 10 and they come back and they kick a game-winning field goal and you're like, they always do this.
Well, that's a position, Jet, where if I have the Niners and they're up 10, you hedge to Kansas City money line, you get your money worth, and then you're sitting there just chilling.
Yeah. Double dip. I like it.
Yep. Let's go to Sunday night. A very, very shocking development for some in Pittsburgh. Not for me. I'm not surprised by this, but all signs indicate that Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers this Sunday night. taking on the New York Football Jets, the aforementioned Jets with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson and their new play caller and all that jazz. Pittsburgh getting a 1.5 at home. The Jets road favorites in Pittsburgh, -1.5. Who do you boys like?
Dodgers are up 2-0, by the way. Give me. I like the Jets. I don't believe in the Steelers. I don't. I mean,
so the quarterback change. What about the quarterback change, Joe?
Yeah, I mean,
no, not that. No, I'm not asking you if you think it's going to help them.
No,
but do you think it's the right? Do you think it's the right move?
No, because they're winning games.
Well,
Justin Fields is playing fine. I guess like Russell Wilson, he's Russell Wilson, so it's like you got to kind of throw him out there, at least see what he can do. It's definitely not good for Fields' confidence.
Very
and
bad.
I just have you think like George Pickens is going to get along with Russell Wilson? Like that ain't going to work. Like
I feel like the time for them to have made the move would have been after the previous week where they lost in heartbreaking fashion to Dallas. Yeah. That would have been the time that I would have brought Russ in.
Perhaps he wasn't fully ready.
They played.
Yeah, no, I know. But then you looked at actually what Fields did this last week. I thought he played pretty solid. Like, I didn't think he played that poorly.
From the standpoint that they won the game and that he ran for 2 touchdowns and over 50 yards. But my whole thing is, and Jet, you may disagree, but from watching Fields week in and week out try and operate an NFL offense with the Bears, I understand the play calling was bad. I understand the supporting cast was bad. But the bottom line is, like, I just don't think he could play the position that well.
It depends,
I just don't.
So it depends. It depends what the Steelers are trying to do. Are they trying to develop this guy, or are they just trying to win games?
Right.
Because your answer will be in there. I think, for me personally, I think you've seen enough flashes of him that, like, why not? Why can't he be an NFL quarterback? Why can't you give him let him play for a season? That's another issue that goes on now, is like, even you look at like Bryce Young, that team is garbage. I guess they're not the Steelers. Obviously the Steelers have hopes of making the playoffs, but now is the perfect year to just have Bryce Young in there, lose 15 games, and you learn the position. It is what it is. It's Russell Wilson, who I love Russell. I've always liked Russell Wilson. I've always thought he's been really good. So if I was picking between, like, I want to win right now, you do want to see what he can do. He might go out and play amazing.
Right.
So I would say at some point Russ needs to make an appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, just to see how he can handle that offense, especially it's not like the offense is firing on all cylinders with Fields, like you said, not. Mikey. So they're having issues. They brought this guy in much, as we discussed last time, I thought that they were paying Russ all this money. They're not paying him that much. So, but I do think they brought him in to be their guy. They should at least see how he can handle the offense.
How did he lose the job in the first place? He got hurt, or
he was hurt. He got hurt, and then Fields
he was gonna start.
He got hurt before the season started.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, listen, maybe it's the fair thing to do. If he was supposed to be the starter originally, now he's healthy, like that was his job. Did he get Wally pipped? I mean, I don't think he got Wally pipped. What Jet said is correct. Like, what is Pittsburgh trying to do offensively? They don't try to do much. Like, they're not really trying. Right. So they rely on the defense. They want the defense to put them in position to win games, and it's worked so far. They're 4-2. But who do you guys like with the spread there? Jets minus the 1.5 or Pittsburgh getting the points at home?
I like the Jets.
Jets minus 1.5 for Jet.
I think the Jets are going to win. I mean, listen, if the Jets lose this week after firing Saleh, after bringing in Devontae Adams, after doing everything, I think their season is in real disarray. I think this is a must-win game for them, and it's a primetime game. All eyes on Aaron and Devontae. I think they're going to play well enough to win. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to make a huge surge back into the season, but I think this is a one game that they can win. The Jets defense, I think, could have a big game too. We'll see what happens. I would take the Jets though here.
I like the Jets there too. I'm going to take the Jets as well.
Yeah, I think they're going to win by a bunch if TJ Watt doesn't have 8 sacks.
Fair. We got a game of the week from Joseph. His game of the week is the San Francisco 49ers minus 1.5. Jet, we do need a game of the week from you, pal.
Hey, can I give a college game?
Sure.
Okay. Give me Georgia. Give me Georgia plus Georgia plus 3.5. And you know what? Sprinkle the money line as well. Yeah, like you said, it's the SEC. Nobody knows what's flying. And again, it's a case of contender in Georgia against possibly a pretender. Like we don't know. So until you prove that you can beat the big dogs, I take the big dogs. So give me Georgia over Texas.
By the way,
I tell you what, I like that.
Tickets game of the week this week is the Packers -2.5. He put that in the group chat. He likes the Packers taking care of
It's going to
business.
have to be -3 though. It's going to have to
-3 then.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine with that.
Do you agree with me? Like Texas hasn't they beat Michigan. It's the only team they've beat. They played cupcakes all year. Michigan's not even
Yeah,
good.
listen, when I saw
It's
14
championship built.
when
They
I
played
saw
well last week.
when I saw Texas was only a 14.5 point favorite against Oklahoma last week,
Yeah.
people
Well, they
see that
killed them.
game. People see that game, and I would imagine that there were a lot of tickets on the Oklahoma side. I bet a
Yeah.
lot of tickets were bought for Oklahoma because people
Especially
look
after
at
the
that.
previous year.
That's what I'm saying. People look at that game in a they look at that under a microscope, not
Right.
under a microscope. Excuse me. They look at it very broadly. They broad strokes. Oklahoma won last year. Oklahoma always plays Texas. It's a rivalry game. How could they be disrespected like this? Oklahoma is. This is the first time I've ever seen no offense from the Oklahoma Sooners. They have no offense, so to speak of. Every single wide receiver's hurt. The defense under Venables, they try to keep them in a game, but by the second quarter, the offense goes 3 and out every drive. So they're dead by the second half. So Texas won that. Jet, I hear what you're saying that they haven't beaten a lot of people, but Georgia to me just has not looked like the team I thought this year, Ohio State and Georgia would be like dominant juggernaut teams that no one was even going to look that close to. I still kind of feel that way about Ohio State. Georgia, I wonder now if Georgia beats Texas, like Jets predicted them to beat Texas, that changes the entire narrative. That's going to flip the SEC on its head. So I don't know if I take it and make it my game of the week, Jet, but I certainly think it's an interesting.
We took it with the points. He taking them with the points.
And money line.
I'm going to take the money line for sure. Yeah. For me, it's more about doubt in Texas than it is about belief in Georgia. Like Georgia, you know what you're going to get. You know they're a tough team. You know what they do. Texas, they got to prove it, and this is their chance. So maybe they will. But yeah, I don't know. Give me Georgia.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I certainly don't mind it. My game of the week this week is going to be a little bit different. It's an NFC West game, and it's again the Cardinals, involving the Cardinals. And I've gone against the Cardinals last week for my game of the week, and I'm going to go again against them again this week. I'm going to take the Chargers, giving 2.5 points on the road to the Cardinals. I think that the Chargers are a team that they started really well. Herbert got banged up. They had a bye week very early, and I think everyone just forgot about the Chargers. I think everybody forgot about the Chargers. Like Jet said, they had that bad game. Was that the game? Herbert was hurt going into that game, and they played him for
injured.
whatever.
Yeah, he got injured. Yeah,
Harbaugh played him against the toughest defense in the
week.
league for whatever reason. Insane. The Chargers, man. I still think that the Chargers are a little bit of a spooky team out there. Give me the Chargers as my game of the week, -2.5. Now that's Monday night. There's a doubleheader Monday night. Ravens, Bucks, Chargers, Cardinals. Joe, any quick words on the Ravens Bucks game? Ravens given 3.5 to Tampa in Tampa.
So Tampa's +3.5.
Yes, at home. That's Monday night game 1. Monday night game 2 is the Cardinals game.
I'm actually going to take Tampa Bay in that spot. I'm actually very surprised, and I will say this: Baker looks fucking great, man. And you know what? The offense
turns the ball over a lot, but he's scoring a lot of points.
But I think in Tampa Bay too. I think playing at home, this team's feeling themselves right now. Went down early against the Saints. I was like, oh my God, they're getting pummeled. They came back and just thwarted them. I will give. If I'm getting 3.5, I could easily see Tampa losing this game by 3 points. I could also see Tampa somehow winning this game, shockingly enough. And I do, you know how high I am on the Ravens, but I'll take Tampa Bay with the 3.5.
Jet.
I mean, yeah, Tampa's. I don't know. You don't know what you're going to get out of them. They are incredibly fun to watch, and then the Ravens are. Some would say they're the best team in the NFL. I mean, they say it every year.
I like them a lot. I like them a lot.
But that half point is a killer. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That half point is a killer. I'll take the Ravens.
I'm going to take the Ravens as well, but I think the stronger play in this game, obviously, and we don't pick over-unders regularly. Over-under in this game is 49.5. These teams score in bunches, and they've allowed a lot of points. Both these defenses have allowed points. Give me that over 49.
The Ravens, I think,
that
are the best red zone team in the NFL. They don't, when they get in the red zone with Henry, it's just like how they don't.
Well, you could pick your poison. Are you going to stop Derrick Henry, or is Lamar going to run naked boot and just run around and throw it to find somebody? Zay Flowers, by the way. Zay Flowers may be one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He is fucking phenomenal. He is Lamar's best.
Bateman's pretty good too,
man. With a bullet.
Mark Andrews, their team's amazing. They're so good.
Okay, that does it for the slate. Who's a problem right now? Joseph, do you have a problem for this week?
Yeah, I do, and it's Jerry Jones, man. This guy is just there is a point where you're detrimental to your team. This guy has always, like, how many owners of teams could you like straight out like list? Like, I could only do a few. And of course, Jerry Jones, everyone knows him because he is the Dallas Cowboys. He needs to take a step back and he needs to let this team just be the Dallas Cowboys and not just fucking run amok with what his takes are. Did you see him go off on that radio show, Mikey? I mean, and by the way, they have every right to like question him because, as we just said, aside from CeeDee Lamb, who is the offensive juggernaut on this team? They got
supposed to be number 4.
They brought Ezekiel Elliott back. I mean, from the dead. Like, they don't even have a true running back. Like, they let Tony Pollard go. I don't know, man. I just think that this guy's ego is so huge that he's getting in the way of the team being successful. And he's a problem. He's been a problem for years. And now that the team looks like dog shit, it's a real problem if you're a Cowboys fan.
Jet, you have a problem for us this week?
Yeah, I remembered. This is my favorite segment. So, but first, a couple things. First things first. Cutsy just said he doesn't know. He couldn't name any owners. But his aunts are owners of the Green Bay Packers. People forget that.
There's a lot of owners
they don't actually get anything. They don't get anything out of it but a certificate.
I mean, but honestly, aside from Kraft, Jerry Jones, and then the Jaguars owner, like, and obviously the Bears owner because she's old as hell. I mean, how many owners?
George Hallis's daughter,
Virginia, man.
Yeah. I'm saying I like her, but I'm saying there's not a lot of
100 years old, dude.
You got David Tepper out in Carolina.
Yeah.
You've got Arthur Blank out in Atlanta owning Home Depot. All right, we don't have to get into it. Here's my problem. And it's cliche. I hate to do it. And it's a group. It's a broader group, but it's the officiating, and it's for a couple different reasons. Okay.
Oh, it's been
I'm not just saying bad calls here. There's two things specifically that are bugging me. One is the amount of picked up flags this year. It's a new thing where you toss a flag, and they used to pick up flags here or there. Every single flag is picked up. You will see more picked up flags than you've ever seen. It's because the NFL like makes an emphasis. Like, it happens once one year, and then the next year, every flag has to be picked up because of this emphasis. Same thing applies to this new offensive passing interference. Now, don't get me wrong. A pick play, a blatant offensive appearance is fine. Every pick, every screen, every brush, anything with a semblance of a screen is now called offensive PI, and it's a big problem because it takes away a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. They're not obvious, so that's my problem, is the officiating. And then on top of that, I'm going to say announcers who don't tell you that there's a flag on the play. So your team goes in and scores a touchdown, and they don't say there's a flag on the play, and then they just cut to the ref announcing that there's a fucking penalty, and the touchdown of the goddamn team that you bet on is being taken away, and they didn't even warn you about it and put that fucking flag thing on the screen. Thank you.
You're very welcome. That was great. It was great. And I agree, by the way. I agree on the OPI. Very ridiculous.
But they you know what I'm saying? They overdo it. Now everything is OPI. You can't judge it by the rule now because there's an emphasis on it. Every single thing is OPI.
That Jets-Bills game was one of the most painful things I've ever sat and watched. I really, it was almost unwatchable. My problem this week, and it's a good problem, this guy has appeared that he may be a problem moving forward, is Luke Weaver. Is this guy that the Yankees have found to take on this closing role? Listen, the Yankees, if you're going to pitch for the Yankees in the bullpen, Your bread is buttered in the postseason. What name you make for yourself in the postseason. Clay Holmes taken out of the closer role in September. He had struggled. Now, by the way, Clay Holmes, since he's been taken out of the closer role, has a 0 ERA, and he's had 6 appearances in the playoffs so far. So hats off to Clay Holmes. But this Luke Weaver, man, 9 strikeouts. Of course, he allowed the solo shot to Ramirez last night, but you know what? It was a 6-2 ball game. It was he already had his first out. And what he showed me was the moxie he had after he gave up that solo shot. Next 2 guys, boom, out, no problem, no drama, no walks. After he gives up the home run, he's got 1 walk in all the appearances in the postseason so far. Luke Weaver, a good problem, perhaps a great problem for the Yankees moving forward. At least I hope so.
Like when
Yeah, I don't even know, Jet. Yeah. He is a Yankee. I don't even think he. I want to say I don't know if he played. I think he's from the Yankees farm system. Or no, the Reds.
He just pops out of nowhere.
The Reds.
Well, everybody goes through the Red system.
Yes. So he's been in the league.
Bob's take.
He's been in the league. Listen to this. He has been in the league since 2016. Cardinals, 2016, 17, 18. Diamondbacks, Royals, Reds, Mariners, Yankees. So he's bounced around all the time.
Is he a converted closer?
Yeah,
By the way, Bob says he's a friend of the pod.
He is. Yeah, he is. He was drafted 27th overall pick by the Cardinals in 2014. I mean, listen, it looks like he started off as a starter and then obviously didn't work out that way, but who gives a fuck?
He's got his A stuff going right now, man.
Yes, he does, and he needs to continue to do so. He looks like a baby. I mean, he looks like he's like 18 years old. It's insane. Yep. And by the way, Tim Hill, polar opposite Yankees relief pitcher, looks like he's 62 years old and smokes Marlboro Reds. on the I mean, this guy looks like it's unreal what that guy looks like. But anyway, I digress. We do have viewer questions. We'll only get to a couple of them, and we'll go. We do have a great fuck, marry, kill. John Hollowell, ribeye steak, Sunday gravy, or seafood tower? Joseph.
Oh, fuck, man, that's tough. I'm going to marry the Sunday gravy, and that's just because of what I've been brought up to, and I would be disowned by my family if I didn't. Sunday gravy is a marry. This is tough, man, but I'm going to fuck a seafood tower and I'm going to get rid of the ribeye.
Really?
I could still have a New York. I could still have a filet mignon.
You have a T-bone porterhouse.
If you told me all steak, it's a different question, but a seafood tower, Mikey, when you're with friends, is one of the more invigorating things that life can throw at you. And it is truly a tremendous time that I just can't comprehend killing. So that's the way I'm going to go.
Jet?
Putting me talking about food.
You'll kill it all.
Is borderline disrespectful. I almost don't want to answer, but I would probably do the same, but I would fuck the ribeye, I think.
Okay.
And marry the Sunday gravy and then the seafood tower. Like you said, I mean, it's a good question.
I think Joe hung Hollowell out to old John Hollowell out to dry here because he found a loophole, a technicality. You do kill the ribeye because it doesn't encompass all steak. So on a technicality, we will kill the ribeye. I will marry the Sunday sauce and fuck the seafood tower. That's the correct response.
Hollowell's right though that a ribeye is the best cut of steak.
That's also true. That's also true.
So I'm going to give Hollowell some credit.
Would you rather win the Super Bowl? This is Patrick Glidden. Would you rather win the Super Bowl or the Heisman Trophy? For me, it's easy. I'd rather win the Super Bowl. That's just me.
Well, you're a team guy. Some people are not team guys.
Yeah, that becomes, are you a team guy or are you a back of the jersey type guy?
Yeah.
And me personally, the thing is, you win a Heisman, dude.
What has more moxie, Super Bowl ring or a Heisman?
Yeah, what is a bigger flex? What is a bigger
flex? Without
the Heisman?
A Super Bowl ring or a Heisman?
I'll put it to you like take a guy like Johnny Football. He is a legend forever. He cannot do no wrong. He can go into fucking College Station whenever he wants and be the king. There's nothing cooler than winning the Heisman, I don't think. I can't.
I mean, yeah, if you're not an integral part of the team, like if you like Jared Lorenzen, God rest his soul, the hefty lefty, has had Super Bowl rings with the Giants. But like, I get it. I get Jet's point. Like, the Heisman, it's like you're now forever ingrained
You're
in lore.
enshrined.
You're invited to the Heisman dinner and the Heisman ceremony every year. You
So
vote for
many
the
guys.
Heisman.
It's
So,
like,
I mean, but I do think that the Super Bowl ring is a mega flex.
totally. But being a
Oh,
college football legend is almost cooler than being a pro legend in terms of like aura and like college.
how about this,
like we were
Jet?
talking about.
Would you rather have a Super Bowl ring, a Heisman trophy, or a green jacket?
Green jacket. Green
I think
jacket.
yeah, the green jacket and the Heisman.
And I don't even
Uh,
and I love football more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
I would pick green jacket
So cool.
specifically to get to that dinner every single year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things where that should be meant.
And
I mean,
because like I imagine you could play at Augusta whenever you want if you win a green jacket.
because that would be a fuck, marry, kill question. Green jacket,
That's a
Super
great
Bowl
one.
ring,
Yeah, let's
or
save that.
Heisman.
Let's
We
save
should
that.
save that when ticket
We'll
comes
save that.
down.
We got two more. Let's just do two more. We'll do this is a good one. Taylor Nelson. Jet, if you could sit, this is for everybody. I'll ask Jet first. If you could sit front row or field pass for any event, what is it?
Man, what a great question. I'd probably say like NBA Finals. I think
Jet
just because
loves the NBA.
no.
A
I don't even
hardwood
like
is sick.
I don't
no.
like NBA. I think from a viewing perspective, a courtside seat at a basketball game is better than anything anywhere else.
You know what
can't
mine is, Michael?
go for it.
Is it Canucks
UFC
ice
cage
cage
Oh,
side?
yeah.
Yeah.
UFC cage side.
I mean,
Yeah,
for me, it would be the field pass. I would take the field pass
NFL?
no,
Yeah.
I would take it for Ohio
College?
State, Michigan.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah.
Ohio State,
Wow.
Michigan on the field. On the field. I would love that.
Would you just lose your mind?
Yeah, I would go. I'd go nuts. And last one, let's do this. Okay. Okay, flats or wings, blue cheese or ranch. Big fan. Keep it up, fellas.
flats.
That's Thomas Sakely. I hope I'm saying that right. So wings, flats
I
or
disavow.
wing. Well,
I'm
flats
not
or drumsticks, he's asking.
Yeah.
Flats or drumsticks, not flats or wings. It says flats or wings. Flats or drumsticks, blue cheese or ranch.
I don't. I'll take ranch, and then I disavow from the first question.
You don't eat wings, Jet?
I do. I don't. I'm unqualified to talk about it. Again,
Jet's
with
a nachos
But
guy.
when you eat your
I-
wings, Jet, when you eat your wings, it's a Sunday, let's say, you're sitting there.
I don't. You know, I'm so out on wings, but I'll say flats. Give me flats and give me
Ranch.
ranch. But let the experts talk about this one. You know, I know my place. You know,
Flats is definitely the answer.
see,
The blue cheese ranch discussion is one that's very difficult. That was one of the first questions Nicole and I asked each other, and I said blue cheese, and she was disgusted with me.
Yeah. Joe, I'm a blue cheese guy too, dog.
Here's
I
the
am.
thing, though,
I
Mikey.
am.
It
Jet hates blue
depends.
cheese. I know that
Ranch-
for a fact.
Here-
Jet hates
here's
blue
my
cheese.
take.
I don't like ranch either.
Big testicles hates blue cheese. Two things that you know
Mikey,
are
but-
true about the Jet.
Tell me you don't agree with me on
man.
this. Ranch is always ranch, but blue cheese, there are so many variations of the blue cheese sauce that you can get that
Is
it
it
really
chunky?
depends.
Is it not chunky?
Is there crumbles in it? Is it
Right.
chunky? Is it
It's
saucy?
it's like peanut butter.
It really is, and you don't know what you're going to get. When you get a truly good blue cheese sauce, I will take it over ranch. But it's you don't know what you're going to get when you go to a Chili's or you go to I don't know, Hooters, or you go they all have different variations of blue cheese. So if you're looking for consistency and safety, you take the ranch. If you're looking to have a good time, fuck around with some blue cheese.
I'm going to take the flats also, and I'm going to say this about the blue cheese discussion. If it's a buffalo style wing, where now everyone knows there's a million sauces for wings these days. Everybody's got 20 different sauce offerings for wings. If you're going traditional buffalo, I have to go blue cheese. I have to. However, if it's a barbecue wing, I'm going
Or a
ranch.
Parmesan,
I'm
yeah.
going ranch all the time. If it's a barbecue wing, I think it depends on the sauce. Great question. Great episode, by the way. That's another episode of the Sportsman podcast. Click, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Thank you, Jet.
This has been another episode. We thank the Jet for filling in for Ticket. He did it tremendously amicably. We love him. Joe, we love you too. We'll see you guys next week, and appreciate you, fellas. Have a great night.